The reality was like a punch to my gut, brutal and unexpected. Despite being born and raised in Hawaii, my daughter didn't hesitate to remind me of my humble beginnings. She looked at me with a mixture of disgust and disdain, her words echoing in my ears long after she left the room. My wife, usually the epitome of composure, was visibly shaken. Her hand trembled slightly, betraying her shock. As for the villain, they stood calmly observing, a strange glint in their eye, almost as if they had orchestrated this scene. That night, sleep evaded me. Every soft breeze outside our home sounded like mocking laughter. Each creak of the old house seemed to echo my daughter's words, amplifying my feelings of humiliation. I tossed and turned, grappling with emotions that threatened to consume me. Betrayal, anger, and a profound sadness that resonated deep within my bones. It wasn't just about being called poor by my own daughter. It was about the realization that all those years of sacrifice, hard work, and unwavering dedication had been belittled. As the night wore on, I grappled with the urge to confront my daughter, the desire to seek an explanation, to understand what had driven her to such harsh words, warred with the pain that each passing moment inflicted. The image of my daughter's face, usually so radiant with joy, now twisted in disgust, was seared into my mind. It became a constant refrain, a tormentor that wouldn't let me rest. Finally, the dawn broke, bringing with it a sliver of hope in the vast darkness of my despair. As I stepped out into the fresh morning, I knew I couldn't let my daughter's words define me. They didn't reflect who I was, the values I held, or the life I had built. Instead, they were a testament to her own shortcomings, her lack of empathy, and her inability to comprehend the struggles that had shaped me. But amidst the turmoil, a steely resolve began to form within me. I would not allow myself to be broken by my daughter's outburst. I would not let her words overshadow the years of love, care, and provision I had given to our family. In fact, her words would become the catalyst for my transformation. They would serve as a reminder of the strength I possessed, the dignity I had maintained, and the unwavering spirit that defined me. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its warm glow over the landscape, I found myself filled with a sense of purpose. My daughter's words had wounded me deeply, yes, but they had also ignited a fire within my soul. A fire that fueled my determination to prove, not just to her, but to myself, that her perception of me was not only wrong, but a reflection of her own limited vision. I was more than my financial status. I was more than what my daughter saw or understood. I was a father, a husband, a community member, and above all, an individual with dreams, aspirations, and the strength to overcome any challenge. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy. Healing the wounds of betrayal, proving my worth, and showing my daughter the depths of her father's strength would take time, patience, and resilience. But I was ready. The pain of her words had become the fuel of my resolve. The scars left behind would fade, but they would serve as a constant reminder of the strength I had discovered within myself. At first it was subtle, a fleeting inconsistency here, a vague explanation there. I brushed them off as trivial, part of the chaos of everyday life. Yet as days turned into weeks, these small anomalies accumulated like loose threads in a tightly woven fabric. Something was unraveling, and I could feel the tension tightening around me. My instincts, honed by years of navigating both business and personal challenges, refused to let me ignore these signs. I began observing quietly, recording what others would dismiss as harmless interactions. A conversation that didn't align with previous statements, receipts that didn't match, subtle evasions when certain topics arose. Every detail, no matter how insignificant it seemed, was carefully noted. I wasn't acting out of panic. My approach was deliberate. Each observation was a piece of the puzzle, a clue pointing toward a truth I was determined to uncover. As I delved deeper, I started asking discreet questions. I approached acquaintances, casually inquiring about recent events, and noted their reactions. A hesitation, a forced smile, a fleeting flicker of guilt. All of it mattered. I cross-referenced stories, double-checked claims, and kept meticulous records. My calm exterior concealed the storm of suspicion brewing within, allowing me to analyze without revealing my growing anxiety. The more I investigated, the more the pattern emerged, a network of deception I hadn't anticipated. Each revelation was a shock, yet it was methodical, almost surgical. I traced financial records, scrutinized interactions, and quietly observed behavior over days. Every detail that once seemed mundane now held a hidden meaning. Small lies began to form a coherent narrative, a map leading to the source of betrayal. Even as dread settled over me, I maintained composure. Panic would have been a mistake. Clarity was essential. I reminded myself that every step mattered, that patience and precision would ultimately turn the tables. The villain's charm, once disarming, now became a challenge, a puzzle I was intent on solving. Their smiles, their calculated compliments, the effortless grace with which they manipulated perceptions, it was all being cataloged in my mind for future use. Sleepless nights followed, filled with quiet analysis and reflection. I reviewed conversations, revisited past incidents, and compared behaviors across different contexts. Every anomaly, no matter how minor, added weight to the growing suspicion. The calm household I had once taken comfort in now felt like a theater, the shadows hiding motives I could only begin to uncover. The anxiety was tangible, but it fueled rather than paralyzed me. Every overlooked detail became a stepping stone toward clarity. I was meticulous, deliberate, and unwavering. By the time the first pieces of the puzzle fit together, I had mapped out the scope of the deception, understanding both its subtlety and its reach. It became clear that this was not a single act of betrayal, but a series of calculated manipulations, executed with precision. The betrayal was woven into the fabric of everyday life, camouflaged by familiarity and trust. Yet by observing quietly and thinking methodically, I had begun to untangle the threads, seeing patterns where others saw only coincidence. Despite the growing sense of dread, I remained committed to justice rather than impulsive revenge. Every action I planned would be purposeful, every move strategic. I documented everything, creating a mental blueprint of what had occurred and what would need to happen next. My calm, collected approach contrasted sharply with the chaos I anticipated, a shield protecting both my mind and the integrity of my plan. With each discovery, the fire inside me grew, not out of hatred, but out of a desire to restore balance and prove that underestimating me is often the gravest mistake one can make. The unraveling thread had exposed not just lies, but the arrogance of those who believed they could dismiss me, and now it was time to prepare for the reckoning. I won't reveal my grand plan or unveil the villain's identity. Let's just say karma has a peculiar sense of timing. When it unfolds, it will be as captivating as the finest thriller. For now, I'll maintain my composure, my resolve, and my silence. The perfect counterattack is meticulously planned, considering every angle, every consequence, every possible reaction. When the moment is right, I will strike, and it will be as precise and devastating as a perfectly executed symphony. This is my promise. Just as a skilled conductor orchestrates a harmonious masterpiece, I will orchestrate my revenge. The spotlight will shift, the tempo will change, and the world will witness the downfall of the villain. This is not a tale of hatred, but of balance, proving that beneath the surface of complacency lies a strength that can shatter even the most meticulously crafted illusions. All my life I'd heard whispers of hidden money, secret stashes of wealth tucked away by my father. I dismissed them as idle gossip, tales spun from envy or misinformation. But after his untimely death, these whispers took on a new urgency, a desperate plea for attention. My world was turned upside down. His will left us with a mountain of debt, a tangled web of legal issues, and a dwindling inheritance. Suddenly, those hushed tales of hidden money became a beacon of hope, a lifeline in a sea of despair. The implications were staggering. If my father had truly secreted wealth away, it could change everything. It could save our family from financial ruin, secure my sister's future, and ease the burden of our debts. But where to start? The quest for answers led me to my father's closest confidant, a man whose loyalty and discretion were legendary. With trembling hands, I laid out my case, hoping against hope for a positive response. But his reaction was one of polite dismissal. his eyes betraying no guilt, his words carefully neutral. For weeks I grappled with the puzzle, poring over my father's personal documents, searching for any clue, any indication of hidden assets. Days bled into nights, hope into despair, and still there was no breakthrough. Just as I was about to abandon my search, a faint lead emerged, a cryptic mention of a safe deposit box, a hidden key, and a code known only to my father. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly aligning, hinting at a secret my father had fiercely guarded. With renewed determination, I raced against time, navigating a labyrinth of bank vaults, deciphering cryptic notes, and confronting long-buried memories. Each step brought me closer to the truth, unveiling layers of complexity I had never imagined. Finally, after a relentless pursuit, I found it, the hidden key to my father's financial sanctuary. Adrenaline surged through me as I opened the safe, revealing stacks of cash, gold bars, and documents detailing offshore accounts and investments. It was more than I could have ever hoped for, a treasure trove that could rewrite our family's future. But as the reality of my discovery sunk in, a chill ran down my spine. The money was real, the investments substantial, but they were not my father's. Each bank, each account, each document bore the name of someone else. Someone who had placed their trust in my father, someone who had entrusted him with their life savings. I was not the beneficiary of hidden wealth, but the guardian of someone else's secret. Suddenly, the weight of responsibility pressed down on me, threatening to crush me. What was I to do with this money? How could I reconcile this discovery with my conscience? The implications were staggering. Did my father betray someone's trust? Had he been living a double life? Was I now complicit in his deception? The ethical dilemma was as daunting as the financial one. Torn between protecting my family and honoring my father's hidden trust, I knew I couldn't keep this secret. Bursting with excitement, I raced back home, eager to share my incredible news with my sister. But upon entering our home, the mood shifted dramatically. My sister sat pale and shaken, surrounded by officials and lawyers. As they looked up, their faces etched with grim determination. My hopes for a joyous reunion evaporated. I learned that my sister had made a terrible mistake, one that threatened to destroy everything. She had unknowingly accessed my father's confidential files, exposing private information and jeopardizing ongoing legal matters. Her innocent curiosity had unleashed a Pandora's box of trouble. Now the walls of our house, once symbols of family and love, echoed with tension. The weight of our shared past, the secrets, the lies, and the betrayal seemed to press in on us. I wanted to help, to alleviate her distress. But how? The revelation of my own discovery offered a glimmer of hope, a way to shift the focus away from my sister and onto me. With careful consideration, I decided to take the blame. I would shoulder the responsibility for accessing the confidential information, becoming the scapegoat in this intricate game of family secrets. My sister, relieved and grateful, accepted my offer, and I was soon whisked away into a whirlwind of legal proceedings. The truth was, I relished this turn of events. To shield my sister from the coming turmoil, I willingly embraced the consequences, knowing that I had to protect her from this world of deceit and betrayal. But as I stepped into the legal maelstrom, I couldn't shake off a growing unease. My father's final moments, his death, his will, the hidden safe, it all seemed too meticulously orchestrated. There was a method to the madness, a sinister design I was only beginning to grasp. In the ensuing chaos, I lost sight of the person who had orchestrated it all. Amidst the whirlwind of legal battles, financial settlements, and family drama, I momentarily forgot about the mastermind behind it all. They had vanished into the background, their presence now irrelevant to my immediate concerns. My focus was entirely on extricating myself from the mess I'd been ensnared in, on protecting my sister and securing our future. But as the dust began to settle, and I caught my breath, the chilling realization crept back in. Who was truly behind this elaborate charade? What were their motives, and what did my father's death really signify? The shockwaves of the recent scandal continued to reverberate across the city, shaking the very foundations of our lives. Amid this turmoil, a quiet storm has been brewing within me, one born out of the chilling realization that we may have been betrayed by none other than the person we trusted most. This revelation, like a seismic shift, has altered the landscape of my world, raising questions that echo in the chambers of my heart and mind. What depths of deceit have we plumbed? Where does the truth lie concealed? And how can we navigate these treacherous waters without losing ourselves? We find ourselves at a crossroads, grappling with the implications of this profound betrayal. It has unveiled a labyrinth of confusion and doubt, forcing us to question the authenticity of smiles, the sincerity of words, and the very essence of trust itself. Yet even in the darkest hours, amidst the tangled web of lies, hope emerges as a flickering flame. For if truth be told, I am resolved to unveil the hidden, to expose the facades, and to restore clarity to our lives. I will leave no stone unturned in my pursuit of answers. No matter how daunting the task, no matter how intricate the deception, I shall delve deep into the recesses of deceit, determined to bring the concealed into the light of day. For in the unveiling there is liberation. In confronting the shadows, there is healing. This journey, fraught with peril and uncertainty, becomes a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a tribute to the indomitable will that refuses to surrender to the machinations of fate. With unwavering tenacity, I am committed to piecing together the fragments of our shattered reality, restoring order to the chaos that threatens to consume us. In the intricate theater of life, where emotions intertwine like a complex melody, I find myself at a pivotal juncture, caught between the throes of profound sorrow and the icy grip of anger. Like a tempestuous sea, my feelings surge and crash, threatening to engulf me in their tumultuous depths. The burden of grief weighs heavily upon my soul, a melancholic shroud that seeks to confine me to the somber chambers of despair. Oh, how I mourn the innocence of trust, the naivety of belief, and the shattered fragments of a reality that once seemed immutable. The pain is a visceral ache, a relentless tormentor that whispers doubts and amplifies fears. Yet amidst this maelstrom of sorrow, a different current begins to stir within me, an undertow of righteous indignation. Like a dormant volcano, anger stirs beneath the surface, waiting to erupt. The realization of betrayal, the dawning comprehension that I have been deceived by one I trusted, ignites a fire within my being. It is a searing heat that consumes complacency, driving me to seek retribution, to demand accountability. The betrayal cuts deep, piercing the armor of my composure and leaving me raw and exposed. It is a wound that festers, refusing to heal, and it demands acknowledgement, understanding, and ultimately, resolution. To confront the complexities of this dual emotional tempest is to embark on a journey of self-discovery, to navigate the treacherous waters of grief and anger, all while striving to emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient. It is a testament to the complexities of the human experience and the indomitable spirit that resides within us all. As the dust begins to settle and the initial shock subsides, the gravity of the situation gradually dawns upon me. The betrayal I have suffered cuts deep, penetrating the very core of my being. In the aftermath of such a devastating blow, a myriad of emotions surge through my veins, threatening to overwhelm me. Grief, like a relentless tide, threatens to drag me down into its murky depths, suffocating me with despair. It is the profound sense of loss that accompanies the realization that trust has been shattered and innocence relinquished. The betrayal has exposed a vulnerability within me that I never knew existed, leaving me shaken and questioning my own strength and resilience. But amidst the crushing weight of grief, another emotion arises, one that burns with the intensity of 1,000 suns. Anger, hot and smoldering, courses through my veins, transforming into a potent force that fuels my determination to seek justice. It is a primal response to the injustice I have endured, a rejection of the pain inflicted upon me. This anger, far from being a destructive force, becomes a catalyst for action. It sharpens my resolve, kindles my spirit, and empowers me to confront the betrayal head-on. In the face of adversity, it is often said that only legends know the true meaning of strength. For what is strength if not the power to rise above life's cruelest blows, to dust oneself off and keep moving forward? The legendary boxer Muhammad Ali once said, "It's the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. And once you believe, you can do anything." These words serve as a guiding light, illuminating the path I must tread. I am not merely a passive victim of circumstances, but an active participant in shaping my own destiny. The betrayal has dealt me a heavy blow, but it has not broken me. Instead, it has forged within me an unbreakable spirit, one that refuses to succumb to despair or resentment. I choose to rise above the pain and channel my grief and anger into positive action. Just as a diamond is forged under immense pressure, my resilience and strength are tempered by this experience. In the wake of this harrowing ordeal, I find myself standing at a crossroads, confronted by the arduous journey towards healing and recovery. The road ahead stretches before me, shrouded in uncertainty and fraught with challenges that test the very limits of my endurance. Yet despite the daunting prospect that lies ahead, I summon the strength within me to take the first step, however small, towards the arduous process of rebuilding my life. The weight of the betrayal presses down upon me, threatening to crush me under its oppressive force. It is a burden that seems almost unbearable, casting long shadows of doubt and insecurity across my path. But I refuse to surrender to the suffocating grip of despair. Instead, I draw upon the wellspring of inner strength that resides within my soul. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with sorrow, I begin the painstaking task of picking up the pieces of my shattered existence. The process is slow and agonizing, akin to extracting shards of glass from a gaping wound. Each movement sends jolts of pain coursing through my veins, reminding me of the depth of the betrayal I have suffered. But I persevere, driven by the unwavering determination to reclaim my life from the clutches of those who sought to destroy it. As I navigate this treacherous terrain, the specter of trauma looms large, threatening to envelop me in its suffocating embrace. The betrayal has left deep psychological scars that run as deep as my soul. The trauma lingers like a venomous serpent, coiling itself around my emotions and paralyzing me with fear and anxiety. It is a constant companion, whispering insidious doubts and amplifying my vulnerabilities. But I refuse to let the trauma define me. I am not merely a victim of circumstance, but an agent of my own destiny. And so I seek solace in the gentle embrace of healing. With each passing day, I confront my trauma, acknowledging its presence without letting it consume me. It is a battle fought not with physical might, but with the unwavering resolve of the human spirit. The journey is arduous, but I am determined to emerge victorious, to break free from the chains of trauma and reclaim my life. And as I navigate the labyrinth of pain, I find solace in the love and support of those who stand by my side. Their presence is a beacon of hope, guiding me through the darkest moments and reminding me that I am not alone in this struggle. With their help, I am able to chip away at the walls of trauma, brick by painful brick, revealing the strength and resilience that lie dormant within me. Once the betrayal was fully revealed, I knew that emotion alone would not suffice. Rage, though powerful, is fleeting. Strategy, however, lasts. I retreated to the quiet sanctuary of my study, a place where focus and intellect could turn fury into precision. Every thought, every calculation was now dedicated to a single purpose: dismantling the villain's carefully constructed facade and ensuring justice was served. My mind, trained over years in engineering logic and legal analysis, became a tool of relentless planning. Each action, no matter how minor, was mapped and sequenced with meticulous care. Step 1 was observation. I needed to understand every predictable move, every routine the villain relied upon. I studied their patterns, cataloging every decision and interaction, noting where influence could be applied and where exposure was possible. No detail was too small. Every minor misstep could become a cornerstone of strategy. Step 2 involved research. I immersed myself in legal documents, past contracts, and regulatory guidelines. I traced financial trails with forensic attention, cross-referencing bank records, business dealings, and past correspondence. My dual expertise allowed me to anticipate countermoves, ensuring that when the time came, the plan would be executed flawlessly. Step 3 focused on psychological preparation. I analyzed their temperament, identifying triggers, insecurities, and overconfidence. By understanding their mind, I could predict reactions, manipulate perception, and maintain control of the narrative. Every message, every interaction would be a calculated step in reshaping their reality. Step 4 was resource alignment. Trusted allies were briefed discreetly, their roles defined, responsibilities assigned. Technology, timing, and communication channels were all synchronized. I built a timeline where each action supported the next, ensuring no gaps, no surprises, no room for error. Step 5. Subtle exposure. Before any direct confrontation, the villain would begin to feel the repercussions of their actions. Small, precise movements, financial adjustments, carefully revealed truths, gentle but strategic social pressure would destabilize their confidence. Each step was intended to build momentum toward the inevitable collapse. Step 6. Legal leverage. With documented evidence in hand, I prepared to challenge their position formally if needed. This was not about revenge in the emotional sense alone. It was justice executed within the framework of law. Contracts, transactions, and communications were arranged to leave no avenue for escape. Step 7. Psychological crescendo. The culmination of all prior steps would bring them face to face with undeniable consequences. Their network, previously secure and supportive, would shift as credibility eroded. The world they had manipulated so effectively would begin to turn against them, piece by piece. Throughout this planning, my rage was no longer a chaotic fire, but a disciplined force. Every action was measured, deliberate, and precise. I was the architect of justice, and this design left no room for error or failure. Each step reinforced the others, creating a web of strategy so intricate that their every move could be anticipated and countered. As I outlined the plan, I felt a sense of calm power. Where grief and shock had once clouded my judgment, now clarity prevailed. I was prepared not just to react but to control, to guide every element of the unfolding events toward the conclusion I had envisioned. Justice would be both inevitable and unassailable. By the end of this phase, I had transformed fury into focus, betrayal into blueprint. The villain, once untouchable, would now confront the consequences of arrogance, deceit, and underestimation. And when the time came, the culmination of meticulous planning would reveal the full scope of my strategy, leaving no doubt that the underestimated could rise beyond expectation, orchestrating a justice that was precise, calculated, and inevitable. My grand finale, a masterpiece of calculated retribution. As I orchestrated this intricate web of justice, a sense of grim satisfaction began to take hold. It wasn't just about exposing the villain's hypocrisy or dismantling their empire. It was about proving, showing the world the depth of their corruption. My finale involved meticulously crafting a sequence of events that would not only bring the villain to their knees, but also illuminate the full extent of their deceit. I selected a series of high-profile individuals who had been touched by the villain's machinations, each unknowingly playing a part in their downfall. Through subtle manipulation and carefully leaked information, I positioned them as key witnesses to the villain's misdeeds. It was a delicate dance, ensuring that these individuals would come forward at crucial moments, delivering testimonies that would shatter the villain's carefully constructed public image. But my strategy didn't rely on exposing the villain's past transgressions alone. I knew that to achieve my desired outcome, I needed to strike at the very core of their present operations. This led me to identify the linchpin that held the villain's entire empire together, their most prized possession, an asset so valuable that its loss would send shockwaves through the villain's organization and the wider community. With this critical component in my sights, I proceeded to orchestrate a series of calculated moves designed to gradually erode its value and relevance. It was a slow, methodical process that involved exposing hidden flaws, highlighting overlooked liabilities, and subtly shifting public perception away from the villain's magnum opus. Yet even as I executed these maneuvers, I knew they wouldn't be enough to bring about the downfall I envisioned. I needed a catalyst, something to precipitate the final collapse of the villain's carefully constructed world. This realization led me to seek out those who had been most harmed by the villain's actions, the individuals who had suffered directly from their schemes and manipulations. Carefully selecting individuals with strong moral character and unwavering determination, I galvanized them into a collective force, a chorus of voices united in their pursuit of justice. Together, we embarked on a campaign of truth and transparency, utilizing every available platform to expose the villain's crimes and their catastrophic consequences. It was a relentless assault on the villain's reputation, conducted with unwavering precision and unassailable evidence. And then came the ultimate showdown, the moment when all my meticulously laid plans converged. As the weight of overwhelming evidence and irrefutable testimony bore down on the villain, I watched with grim satisfaction as their carefully constructed world crumbled before their eyes. It was a downfall so thorough, so complete, that it left no room for redemption or forgiveness. In the end, the villain was left exposed, defeated, and utterly alone, stripped bare of all the power and privilege that had once defined them. It was a victory hard won, a testament to the triumph of justice over tyranny. And yet amidst the ruins of the villain's shattered empire, a profound sense of loss and melancholy settled over me. The scars of betrayal ran deep, and the road to recovery would be long and arduous. But as I surveyed the wreckage of the past, I knew that from the ashes of adversity, the seeds of resilience and wisdom had been sown. The ordeal had been a crucible of human experience, forging strength and clarity from the chaos of betrayal. The future lay ahead, uncertain yet full of potential, and I was ready to embrace it with newfound resolve and determination. The moment had arrived. After weeks of meticulous planning, I was ready to initiate the first phase of my strategy. Every detail had been accounted for, every contingency considered. The villain moved through their days with the same confidence, unaware that the very foundation of their carefully constructed life was about to shake. I began with freezing key assets. Accounts that had once seemed untouchable were secured, transactions halted, and financial channels subtly blocked. This was done quietly, discreetly, without alerting anyone to my involvement. The villain, confident and complacent, continued their routine, oblivious to the invisible threads being pulled beneath them. Meanwhile, evidence gathering became paramount. I compiled every document, every recorded interaction, every financial anomaly discovered during my investigations. Each piece was organized and cataloged, forming a clear narrative that would be impossible to dispute. While they lived their life believing they were untouchable, I ensured that the truth was not just documented but irrefutable. As the days passed, I kept a close watch on the villain's activities, looking for any sign of change in their routine, any indication that they might be sensing trouble. But they remained blissfully unaware. Tension grew, but it was almost imperceptible to the untrained eye. Minor obstacles and unexpected changes in routines were introduced deliberately. Small, strategic disruptions designed to sow uncertainty without revealing their source. The villain began to feel subtle pressure, small inconsistencies that they attributed to chance. They had no idea that each moment of unease was part of a carefully orchestrated plan. I continued to monitor every move, timing actions to maximize impact. Allies were positioned strategically, ready to act if necessary, yet invisible to the villain. Technology was leveraged to track and document without detection. Every phone call, every email, every meeting was a potential node in the web I had constructed. Despite the outward calm, inside I felt the thrill of control. The villain, so accustomed to manipulating others, now unknowingly became a puppet in the narrative I was orchestrating. Each frozen account, each compiled document, each small disruption was a step closer to the inevitable climax. They remained blissfully unaware, but the cracks in their facade were beginning to show. Every action was deliberate, measured, and precise. I had learned from observing their patterns, predicting reactions, and understanding vulnerabilities. This phase was not about dramatic confrontations or public exposure. It was the silent dismantling of their empire, the careful setting of the trap that would ensure success when the final moment arrived. Even as tension built, I maintained control. There was no room for haste or error. Patience was my ally, precision my weapon. The villain's overconfidence, once a source of intimidation, had become their greatest vulnerability. They were walking a path already determined, blind to the fact that every step led closer to accountability and consequence. By the end of the first phase, the trap was in place. Assets were immobilized, evidence securely compiled, and the villain's world, though seemingly unchanged on the surface, had begun to crumble in ways they could not perceive. Every day, their confidence waned, their reliance on control weakened, and the stage was set for the final reckoning. In this silent, meticulous execution, I found a sense of empowerment. What had begun as betrayal and grief had transformed into strategic mastery. I was no longer a victim. I was the architect of justice, the unseen hand guiding events toward inevitable resolution. The villain's empire, built on deception and manipulation, was now subject to forces beyond their awareness. Forces that would soon bring them face to face with the consequences of their actions. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today's story is about the day of reckoning. Our story begins with the hero preparing for a showdown with the cunning villain. Months of planning and gathering evidence have led to this moment. Today, the hero will expose the villain's misdeeds, bringing an end to their manipulative reign. But the villain remains blissfully unaware of the trap being laid. They enter the room confidently, ready to wield their powers of deception once more. But little do they know that their time is running out. The room is bare, devoid of distractions. Only two chairs face each other, the hero seated calmly in one, the villain unaware of the impending storm approaching in the other. The hero observes the villain, noting their arrogance and the subtle signs of their facade cracking under pressure. "You look uncomfortable," the hero says, breaking the silence. "Can't say I expected this, but I suppose your grand finale is to waste my time with pointless questions. How predictable." The villain masks their unease with bravado, attempting to regain control by belittling the hero. "So you've decided to play the hero. Sentimental, isn't it? But sentimentality doesn't change the facts. Nothing you could ever do would touch me. I'm beyond your reach." But the hero remains unfazed by the villain's attempt to intimidate. Calmly, they begin their exposé, presenting irrefutable evidence that dismantles the villain's carefully constructed facade. "Let me make it clear. This isn't about sentimentality. It's about justice. I have documented everything you've done, every deception, every manipulation. Your carefully crafted narrative ends here." With each piece of evidence presented, the villain visibly recoils, their facade crumbling under the weight of irrefutable proof. The hero continues, their voice unwavering. "Your allies, your networks, everyone you've influenced, I've got it all documented. Your web of deceit is unraveling, thread by thread." The villain, trapped in their own web of lies, grows increasingly agitated, their arrogance now a desperate attempt to hide their vulnerability. "You think you've won, but you don't truly understand who you're dealing with. This isn't over. I'll make sure you regret this." But the hero remains resolute, their composure unwavering. "This isn't about winning. It's about accountability. Every action has a consequence, and you'll face them all." As the confrontation reaches its climax, the villain's desperation becomes evident. Their anger, their fear, their attempts at manipulation, all serve to highlight their complete unraveling. The hero, calm and focused, continues to dismantle the villain's arguments, exposing the hollowness of their claims. "You built your empire on lies, manipulation, and control, but those days are over. It's time to face the truth." Finally, the villain breaks down, their facade completely shattered. The room echoes with the weight of their defeat, the silence broken only by their ragged breaths and the crumbling of their carefully constructed world. The hero, unwavering, stands as a testament to the power of preparation, patience, and unwavering resolve. In this confrontation, the hero emerges not just as a conqueror of the villain, but as a champion of truth and accountability. They expose the villain's manipulation, bringing an end to their reign of deception. But most importantly, they stand as a beacon of clarity and composure in the face of calculated chaos. The audience witnesses not only the downfall of a manipulator, but also the triumph of patience and strategic brilliance. The story leaves us with a profound sense of relief, a testament to the enduring power of truth and justice. If you like this story, then please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. The confrontation reverberated with implications that extended far beyond the confines of the room. In that instant, the villain's world, which had seemed so impenetrable, began to crumble. The truth, once unleashed, carved its path, dismantling everything the villain had so carefully constructed. It was as if the very foundations of their life, built on deceit and manipulation, were shaken to their core. Immediately, the repercussions of their actions in the digital realm started to manifest in the real world. Legal authorities moved swiftly, adeptly, closing in on the villain's assets and freezing them permanently, cutting off the very resources that had fueled their schemes. Eviction notices arrived at their doorstep, demanding their removal from properties acquired through deceit and falsehoods. Each notice, each official document served as a public declaration of accountability. It was a spectacle of justice, albeit one that the villain did not deserve. Their allies, their accomplices, those who had been blinded by the villain's charisma or convenience, recoiled in shock and dismay. One by one, they distanced themselves, abandoning the sinking ship that the villain had become. Each severed tie, each broken alliance was a testament to the isolating nature of the villain's deception. They were left stranded, grappling with the consequences of their choices, facing the reality of their actions without the comforting illusion of support. In the aftermath of that fateful confrontation, the hero knew that the battle was far from over. But there was a profound sense of relief, a deep breath exhaled after weeks of tension and uncertainty. It was the feeling of having planted the seeds of justice, watered by truth and nurtured by the unwavering support of loved ones. The road ahead, though long and arduous, was illuminated by the promise of accountability and the certainty that the darkness of deception would not engulf them any longer. The villain, stripped of their power and plagued by the echoes of their past, retreated further into the labyrinth of their own making. Every step, every move was a desperate attempt to salvage what remained, to cling to remnants of their former life before the truth had shattered it. However, their efforts were futile. The damage was extensive and irreversible. The villain's world, once characterized by calculated moves and intricate schemes, now devolved into a series of missteps and futile actions. Their every move was reactive, a feeble attempt to stem the tide of consequences that threatened to drown them. The grand facade they had so painstakingly constructed was crumbling, exposing the hollowness beneath. Their carefully cultivated image, once a tool of manipulation, was now a burden, a constant reminder of the chasm between perception and reality. Their downfall was not a sudden collapse, but a gradual and agonizing descent. Each passing day brought with it new challenges, new revelations, and new setbacks that chipped away at their composure. The villain, once oozing confidence, now exhibited tremors of fear and desperation. Their eyes, once sharp and calculating, were clouded with anxiety, betraying the turmoil that raged within. They were trapped in a vortex of their own creation, unable to escape the relentless pull of accountability. Their once confident strides had become hesitant steps. Their voice, once resonant with authority, was now subdued and strained. The villain's world, which had revolved around control and domination, was imploding, leaving them exposed and vulnerable in a world they no longer understood. As the hero surveyed the wreckage of the villain's life, there was no sense of gloating, only the sober realization of the depth of their fall. The villain's world, once a monument to arrogance and deceit, was now a cautionary tale, a grim reminder of the permanence of consequences. In contrast, the hero's life began to settle into a rhythm of deliberate calm. The ordeal had been taxing, but the outcome was worth every sacrifice. The confrontation may have been the climax, but the aftermath was its own kind of victory. Closure came gradually. The hero revisited every step of the plan, every carefully executed strategy, acknowledging the resilience it had taken to navigate the storm. There was a sense of accomplishment, not born of revenge alone, but of justice realized. The victims, once uncertain and fearful, now found solace in the dawning of a new day. The villain's downfall, while not immediate, was imminent, and the victims could finally envision a future free from deception. They looked forward to new beginnings, guided by the lessons learned and fortified by the bonds of restored trust.